Hello everybody and welcome to another episode of Box Office Talk. This is the show where I break down what happened at the box office, see if my predictions for the top 5 are correct, then make predictions for next week's top 5. So let's get right on into it. Last week I predicted the number 1 would be Bob Marley, One Love, number 2 would be Demon Slayer to the Hishira Training, number 3 would be Ordinary Angels, number 4 would be Madam Webb, and number 5 would be Driveaway Dolls, and I was so close. I got only 4 out of 5 of my predictions right for this weekend. I was so close. I think I had too much faith in Driveaway Dolls, which admittedly, sure, it wasn't being marketed too well to try to appeal to everyone. Some of you did get your predictions right for this weekend, so here are your shout outs right now. Congratulations, everybody. So let's just dive into what actually happened in this top 10. A little bit of a slow one because, Dune's right around the corner and then things will pick up again. But, a little modestly slow for this weekend. So let's just dive right on into it. Number 1 was once again Bob Marley, One Love. I did get that prediction right. I had the right idea as far as it topped last week's number 1, and it's so rare to see a movie that isn't Marvel top another Marvel movie, so maybe there's going to be some kind of way for that, even though it did have about a 50% drop off, but it's doing pretty well for itself right now, making $13 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $71 million, so that adds to a worldwide total all around of $110 million, so it is about $30 million away from doubling that $70 million budget, and domestically, I think it's fair to say it'll probably drop off next weekend. I think a lot of these movies are gonna just really drop off because Dune's gonna soak up all the attention, but worldwide you might have some shot combined totals to bump it into the doubling point. The fact that it's already at 100 million worldwide is pretty good for this movie, you know what I mean? I think some people maybe had their expectations a little bit in the double digit millions, but the fact that it's in the triple digit ones is pretty good, and the fact that it got there so quickly too. I don't really have much more to add to this one, though, so let's move on to number 2, which was super close to being number 1, and sometimes these things are number 1. It was Demon Slayer to the Hishira Training, but still, the fact that it is so close, it's only $2 million off from Bob Marley, is pretty good. It shows that it's not just a niche release. There are fans and people out there that will go see this. This weekend it made $11 million, which adds to a worldwide total of $20 million. Now, I don't know what the production budget of this movie is. It's a bit of a mystery. So hopefully this $20 million in total is enough to get them on the right path. But similar to Bob Marley, I don't really have much more to add to this one. So let's move on to number 3 already, which is Ordinary Angels, making $6.5 million. Since this is a new release, we don't have a overall domestic total or even a worldwide total to bump up the numbers right now. It is needing to double a $13 million budget, which is low enough. I feel like if this movie maybe had the attention of more people, they might have had a better shot at doubling that. Right now, it's kind of like, unless a worldwide total comes in, it's kind of like, yeah, maybe, But like I said, with Dune right around the corner, which is going to soak up all the attention from all these other movies, it's not looking great for this already, which is, pretty sad for a movie that is this low budgeted. But hey, I don't have much more. Similar to the other 2 movies, I don't really have much more to add to this. So let's just get to number 4, which is probably the most interesting from last week and is still the most interesting this week, Madam Webb. Now, it only had a drop-off of about 60%, which is, not the worst these comic book movies have dropped off. I think, which one was it? I think the Marvels had the 70% one for its second weekend, or was that... I don't think that was Aquaman, because that was I think that was the Marvels then. Oh my god, so Madam Web at least didn't drop off that horrendously. I think, to be fair, also, though, I think what followed the Marvels was the Hunger Games right after the Marvels. There was some other movie, I think, that came out right after. Or either way, the focus on the Marvels was kind of like, the big talk was like, it's this huge disappointment, this, nail in the coffin in the MCU, and Madam Web is just kind of like the continuation of the bad thing that Sony is doing. So it's like, it's not that big of it. So as far as the different percentage, as far as drop-offs, it kind of makes sense. Either way, it made $6.0 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of $35 million. It is behind Morbius domestically, still by $38 million worldwide. It is only now sitting at $61 million, so that is $101 million behind Morbius. Still nowhere near crossing even the initial production budget number of $80 million worldwide even. That is insane. That's absolutely crazy. Maybe there's some other places worldwide it can bump it up, but genuinely, I think word of mouth has already kind of ruined this thing. And yeah, I don't know, man. It's kind of crazy. Let's move on to number 5, which was unfortunately, for me, not Driveaway Dolls. Then I would have gotten my predictions right. Number 5 was Migration. It is still clinging on for dear life, and I have to respect that. Made 3.0 million this weekend, adding to a domestic total of 120. That now places it 39 million behind The Secret Life of Pets 2's entire domestic run. Worldwide, it is sitting at 267 million, so it's 84 million behind the Lorax's worldwide run. More importantly, I think for the movie itself, it is 21 million away from quadrupling its $72 million budget, which if it does that, I don't think they care about outgrossing any other Illumination films. If they can make 4 times their budget back, then I think Illumination is in a happy camp, It's crazy how these last 2 movies are still more interesting to talk about than the 3 that are like at the top of the box office. Crazy how that works. Maybe that's just me though, I don't know. Let's move on to number 6, which is also a little bit more interesting to talk about. Argyle. Still here, making 2.8 million, adding to a domestic total of 41 million. For Matthew Vaughn, it has outgrossed Stardust by 3 million and now needs 7 million until it outgrosses the entire domestic run of Kick-Ass. Crazy to think that Kick-Ass, isn't... I think Kick-Ass and Kick-Ass 2, they're not like big, financial earners. They kind of got by on like a cult following, the first one at least. But this movie is 7 million away from outgrossing that, if it does, wild. the Argyle, which probably won't have, if I'm to predict now, I know the movie just came out, but I'm gonna predict that it probably won't have the same kind of like cult status that Kick-Ass did. But it's crazy that it would technically outgross it, just by unadjusted for inflation and all that. Worldwide, it is sitting at 85 million, so it's 12 million behind Kick-Ass, but 15 million away from getting to 100 million worldwide, which is, hey, it's an achievement. 100 million, triple digit millions. But, still nowhere near to doubling its $200 million budget, allegedly. That was the price tag that Apple used to buy the movie, not necessarily how much they pumped in to make it. So, I mean, either way, they need a lot of money to see a profit off of Argyle, this thing that they've already spent money making a prequel spin-off thing to, and also making a book tie-in to. Crazy how they went all in on this. Number 7 is Wonka, making 2.5 million, adding to a domestic total of 214 million. I wanted to take a look at something else to compare it to as far as like what it's been outgrossing, so I went over to a musical list. It has just outgrossed Coco by 4 million, now sits behind Illumination's Sing by 56 million. It's actually one of the highest grossing musical films domestically, which is pretty goddamn amazing, you know what I mean? It's kind of wild to kind of look at like a musical list as far as like box office and kind of realize, yeah, there isn't really a lot of these that are like mega blockbuster hits unless it's like the remakes of The Lion King or Beauty and the Beast or Frozen. So it's good that we got this one to kind of show for that we can make more blockbuster kind of musical films, and they can be profitable if you market them well and if they're entertaining and charming enough. Worldwide, it is sitting at 610 million, so it has outgrossed Mamma Mia by 24 million, now sits behind Illumination Sing by 21 million. So as far as a musical film, this is doing pretty well, and it's going to go down as one of the highest grossing ones. Not the highest grossing one, but in the top 10 list for sure. Number 8 is Driveaway Dolls, the movie that I was kind of hoping would do a lot better, and it's a solid, fun comedy, you know what I mean? It's nothing like amazing. It's definitely not like the top tier of what the Coens have done in their careers, and I know this is only one Coen, but it's still a good enough movie, and I was hoping that maybe some word of mouth would help it, and it seems like I think the word of mouth reaction is kind of like meh to it, which is a little bit of a bummer, at least for me, because I enjoyed it. Made 2.4 million this weekend, and I'm not sure what the budget of this thing is. I'm going to assume just by seeing the movie, it's probably not that expensive, but even then 2.4 million without a worldwide total to really bump it up doesn't really help this thing. As far as the opening weekends for the Coens, it has won 2 million higher than Inside Llewyn Davis, A Serious Man, and The Ballad of Buster Scruggs, and 1 million over No Country for Old Men. Some of these were, as far as opening weekends, some of them were limited release, or in the case of Buster Scruggs, that's Netflix. But it overall, though, for some of their other wider released movies, the opening weekend is 9 million below Hail Caesar, 10 million below The Lady Killers, and 17 million below Burn After Reading. So not particularly great. As far as their other films, it needs 11 million until it outgrosses the entire run of Inside Llewyn Davis. So not great for Ethan Coen going on his own. Not that this is his fault. You know what I mean? It's purely a marketing thing, and clearly not that many people were interested in this slow weekend. They just wanted to see Bob Marley again, or they're waiting until Dune Part 2. Number 9 is The Beekeeper, making $1.9 million, adding to a domestic total of $63 million, so that places it for David Ayer $22 million behind Fury. Worldwide, it is sitting at $123 million, which is $87 million behind Fury, so I think it'll have at least one more weekend, or at least, one can hope it has one more weekend left in it to make some more money. Either way, it's already, tripled that $40 million budget, which we've found out is the case last weekend. So good on Jason Statham and David Ayer. Maybe one day they'll announce The Beekeeper 2, like how I was constantly saying one day they'll announce The Meg 3, because that one did well at the box office, surprisingly. And finally, closing out the video, number 10, The Chosen, Season 4, Episodes 4 through 6, making $1.8 million, adding to a domestic total of $7.8 million. It seems like this one did not have the same kind of staying power hold that the last Fathom event did. And I know I think this weekend they're changing it up to episodes 7 through whatever the number is. I think I saw the change there, but it kind of makes, I don't even know if it'll get into the top 5 even with these low numbers. I mean, when they even released 4 through 6, it didn't even crack the top 5, I believe. I think it just got to number 6. So it makes you kind of think maybe that kind of interest has waned off completely. Who knows? We'll find out next week. Anyways, now it's time for the fun part, the predictions for next week's top 5. Number 1, pretty obvious, I'm going with Dune Part 2. And then, same for the rest. Number 2, Bob Marley, One Love. Number 3, Demon Slayer to the Hishira Training. And number 4, Ordinary Angels. And number 5, Madam Webb. What are your predictions for next week's top 5? Leave them in the comments below. And as always, thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.